Why is Bowles?
There for a while, there wasn't nothing out there.
But I would just
Looking at 1955.
Out of me, my opinion.
5 houses on that street in
I'm ready to go.
1962. We're looking at there used to be a lake over here where the.
We are calling to order the Historic Preservation Commission meeting of March 28th, 2023. Present, we have Laura Powell, Jane Camp, Susan Brown, Faye Brassi, and myself, Elizabeth Jones. Also present are Brad Callender, City Planner, and Laura Wilson, Code Administrator. First on the agenda, well, we need to approve the agenda. Looks like we have an amendment before we can approve it. We had a violation notice, 314 South Wayne Street. Laura?
Yes, Mr. Sturgill brought in an application for the April meeting, which was the point of the sending him the letter. So I recommend that we remove that item from the agenda.
We need to have a motion for that. All right, can I get a motion to remove that from the agenda?
I motion to remove from the agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion unanimously approved. Motion carried. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes that have been amended?
Make a motion to move to approve the agenda for Tuesday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Faye, I said minutes, and I didn't mean to say minutes. I mean, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Yes, I'm make a move to approve the agenda for Tuesday, March 28th, 2023, as amended.
Can I get a second? All in favor? The amended agenda has been unanimously approved. Motion carried. Next on the agenda, let's see, I'm going to ask if everyone has had time to look over the minutes of February 2023. Everybody look those over? The minutes of last month. Okay. Would anybody have any changes or correction to those minutes? No? Can I get a motion to approve those minutes as submitted?
I move to approve.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion unanimously approved and carried. Okay, next on the agenda, we have old business. Have the request for 1251 South Madison Avenue demolition. Do I have anyone here for that agenda item? No one present for that one. Laura, how do we want to proceed with that?
So the applicant was here at 5:30, thinking the meeting had started at 5:30, and I told him no.
Oh,
Here he is.
here we go.
And here's the applicant.
We just called your item up, so if you want to go ahead and come up, unless you need a minute.
Unless you want me to have a minute.
Oh, if you're ready, then let's go right ahead with
Thank you.
1251 South Madison Avenue.
Yes, ma'am. I am standing in front of you. Thank you for allowing me to delay it by 1 month. I'm sorry my representation wasn't here a month ago. As you all know, I went to Israel, and I suggest that everybody in this room go, because it was amazing. Now let's get to business. I am still petitioning for a demolition permit for 1251 South Madison Avenue. I state for the record, I'm sorry, my name is Robert Goodis, and I'm one of the principals of Arnold Property Management, Monroe, Georgia.
Okay, we did make a site visit out there last month, and looked at the, at the property and looked at the water damage that you presented. We also received 2 letters, one from the Walton County Historical Society and one from the Monroe Museum, advocating for the preservation of the site. Would anyone like to speak on their thoughts? After everybody here on the panel has reviewed that, would anyone like to?
Has he had a chance to read it?
Have you looked at those? Would you like to look at those?
Well, I can't refer to it, so I can't comment on it because I am not up to,
Did you get a copy?
I'm not
Those
aware,
two
I am
letters.
not aware of any copies. I've been back for approximately 2 weeks, and I have not seen any documentation from any of the committees.
Do we have copies of that, Laura?
So we have, look at these are right out of the
Okay,
bottom
fine.
here.
Yeah,
Please approach, yes.
So this was from the Historical Society with an email, and then there was another one from the Monroe Museum. And then the email that came with that, that to us, looks like. These were just submitted to us by email, I believe, was it 2 weeks ago?
And in looking at the one from the Historic Preservation Committee, I see here that they're citing that they cite, it is a lovely example of late Victorian architecture. It is one of only 2 surviving homes in the city with its original tin shingled roof. So they're citing that it's unique for its particular type. And then they cite, let me look and see, they do also cite, the society feels the demolition of this house would substantially and negatively impact the South Madison Pinell Historic District. The district is the smallest of the city's 9 historic districts and cannot afford to lose a historic home. So those are 2 things that they're citing there. And the Monroe Museum also, cites the type of, the tin roof and the type of home in their letter as well. The late Victorian architecture, one of only 2 remaining homes in the city with the original tin shingled roof. The Monroe Museum cites 2 reasons here. It is an outstanding example of a structure representative of its era, and it is one of the few remaining examples of a past architectural style. And I believe the reason that they're looking at that's something that in our preservation primer that we also look at in section 54-174B, we would look at that. We would look at the architectural significance of a building, structure, site, or object, and the importance of the building, structure, site, or object to the historic district. So that's why they're looking at that.
I appreciate the letters that, and the documentation. I'm not well-versed on it, only because I just saw it. It's not registered to me, it's registered to your committee. And I can appreciate and respect what they have to say, and
If you're not willing to restore it yourself, and I understand if you're not gonna live in it, you don't wanna put that kind of money into it. But would you be willing to sell that property at a low enough price that someone could afford to come in and restore it? Rather than rather than it be demolished? Would you consider that?
I don't want to be disrespectful. So my concern is not just the home site, it's that corner of South Madison and Pennell Road that we have had in our business and in our family for many, many, many years. As lovely and opportunistic as the home may be to many, and I, no disrespect to that. To answer your question, because you did ask me a question about would I be willing to entertain any buy-sell arrangements on it. I would certainly entertain it, but it would also have to be commensurate to what we think the land and the house. We know that the house has a value. We also know that the land has some good value.
We can make that designation, can't we, that it has to be maintained as historic district, not business? To keep it from going business. That's what we're trying to do, is to maintain it as a home.
I can appreciate that. Nevertheless, the documentation or the letterings that I've seen, I just saw, again, I can't make full formal commentary to it only because I've just now seen that. Am I surprised by that? No, I'm not. Sorry, there's more to that than just that house. There's a land mass to that house and to the connecting parcels that we also own, which includes that 1251 South Madison plat and that other corner as you go down Monroe, Madison, Pennell Road that way. I'm always interested in talking to anybody. I don't want to ever shut the door on anybody.
Do any of y'all have any comments you'd like to make?
Just that he's just learned of this and just read it. So I don't think it's, I think he needs more time. And maybe, talk to the people that might be interested in selling it. I just don't think it's right for him to come in and have to make a decision on something that he wasn't aware of.
And I apologize for not knowing any correspondence that was presented to you in this committee, because I feel,
Are you
Ms. Camp's point.
Are you requesting more time to look over these letters?
I'm certainly don't want to show any disrespect or malice to this committee and just bury my head in the sand and say, no, I want to vote. That wouldn't be inappropriate on my part. It would not be professional on my part. So more directly, I would love to get a copy of any correspondence. If there's more correspondence from other committee members with any of the museum society or museum councils or preservation societies or this governing body, I'm not prepared to put a for sale sign on that lot, but that was never my intention. That was just never my intentions at this point in time.
Laura, what would be appropriate time-wise here? I mean, we've tabled this once. I just want to stay within the parameters of what's appropriate.
I don't know, you actually tabled it twice. 'Cause we did the site visit thing.
Right.
Before last month. I don't know, if you want to grant a tabling, I don't see a reason why you can't.
Okay.
There's no reason not to.
If you would like time to look over the letters and we could table this again.
Yeah, I mean, if I need to request a motion for another 30-day for representation of these new findings or these new revelations from this, I'm more than happy to come in front of this fine committee one more time. And it's certainly not an imposition for me.
Do we have a motion to table this until, let's see, let me find a date, let me see. That's going to be,
April 25th.
oh, look at you. All right, do you have a motion to table, let's see, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to table 1251 South Madison Avenue until April 25th? Okay, I have a motion by Jane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor? Okay. All right, we have a unanimous motion.
One last statement. If you, I don't know this gentleman, but if anybody in this governing body wants to provide me with a contact or somebody wants to reach out to me, Laura has my email and phone number, and I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. I will not just categorically shut the door on a conversation.
Excellent, thank you so much.
And they'll give me I can get copies, say tomorrow, or
She'll provide you with copies of the letters. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. All right, let's see. Next on the agenda, I have this is new business. I have 422 South Broad Street parking lot expansion. Hey there.
Hi.
I'm good, how are you?
Fine. I believe y'all been provided a packet of what we plan on doing, and basically it's just taking a gravel parking lot and paving it and bringing it up to city code so we can work on our apartments and get the apartments to have parking spaces for that.
Do you have, you aren't making it any larger, are you?
No, ma'am.
That's what I thought. I drove through it the other day and I thought it wasn't.
It will be confined to the fenced-in
Just
area.
refined.
Yes. And we're also going to plant some trees.
I saw that on the drawing, like everything looked really nice on the drawing. Does anyone have any questions?
And this is just private parking for the apartments?
And my employees.
Okay,
Okay.
so no one coming to John's Supermarket can park there?
It could be used for an overflow, yes. We've had to use that several times for overflow.
Okay.
Anyone have questions? Anyone in the public have questions? Do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the landscape design for the parking lot as presented in the supplementary material for John's, it just says 422 South Broad Street. And let me say that your building has enhanced that area so much, just.
That's what we were hoping to do.
I have a motion to approve by Fay. Do I have a second? I have a second by Jane. All in favor? Okay, motion unanimously approved and carried. Thank you so much.
Certainly appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you. All right, let's see. Next on the agenda, I have 511 South Madison Avenue.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are y'all?
Good.
Looks like you're putting in a shed.
Yeah, trying to put something to store some things since we don't have a garage out there or anything like that. So just stuff for like the yard, lawnmower, that kind of equipment, outdoor stuff, basically.
Okay.
Could you state your name for the record?
Timothy Michael Urquhart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you do the work on that house?
No, ma'am. The guy that I'm hoping will purchase his home did the work on this house. His name is Matt Jones. He's been in here a few times. His name is Matt Jones. He did that. He redid the entire house we purchased from him.
You said a gentleman named Matt Jones did the work.
Oh, so you bought it from him?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he did a great job
He did a great job. Yes.
on the house. When I drove by, and we're familiar with the house, this shed style to me does not go with your house, and you want it to complement the house.
Of course.
It's going right by where that trailer is, right? Is that the position?
Along the back privacy fence. Yes.
Right there. And to me, it just looked like you were enhancing the trailer. It's so contemporary that a gable roof, I thought, would be more appropriate for your gable-style house.
Okay.
Would you, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'd have to see exactly what you mean by gabled shed to know exactly what you're talking about. But the
Because
one
they,
we
I mean, they
just
have
went
all
to,
kinds.
right? We just found
But I
that one and
think
thought it
this
looked well.
particular one is just too contemporary for your house.
Okay.
And you want it to look like it kind of all goes together.
Right.
Otherwise, it's going to stand out as a shed.
Mm-hmm.
If it kind of looks like it goes with the house, it'll kind of all blend in.
Yeah, we plan on putting it behind the house and then also running the fence around the side of the house, and we already have the
Right.
agreement for the
Yeah,
fence, so it's
that's
gonna
where I
kind of
was
be
looking at, but it's on that side near the
near the street.
trailer.
Yeah, it's behind the fence, behind the house,
Right.
near the street, towards that tree. And we're gonna have a fence that'll basically block that section of the house off, so it'll be kind of behind the house where you can't see it,
Okay.
more or less.
Now, that's just my thought on that, instead of this particular one, that it needs to have a gable to go with it.
But the colors of the shed will match the colors of the home.
Does anybody have any questions?
No, I agree with Faye that it should, if it's a shed, it should resemble the house as far as the pitch of the roof and things like that.
Right.
You want to make an amended motion or a motion to approve based on the style
Of the roof,
or,
Would they have to come back, Laura, or can we just say that it just subject to it being a gable format?
describe what a gable roof is, Faye, to him.
What's she saying?
She's wanting to know what the description of the gable shed looks like.
She didn't have a problem with
I
that.
want you to just describe it.
This gable.
I guess more of your
that you've got,
traditional
it's a
style,
shed roof now.
just traditional.
And you know, the side of your house has a gable, and the front has a gable. I mean, you're in agreement with that?
I don't know what it looks like. I guess she didn't seem to like it too much.
Is that okay with you?
You're saying gabled roof, right, not shed roof? You're
Yeah,
gabled roof, which is basically
You're
Yeah.
just a generic.
got a ridge,
TP.
and it's got a slope on each side,
right.
and the gables are on the ends. That's what a gabled roof is.
We just need something.
You know, Was that description what you were trying to convey?
Do what?
A gabled roof?
Yeah, it just needs to go with the house.
I still don't think they understand what a gable.
You're just saying a traditional teepee roof, just a regular triangle teepee roof, right? Whereas ours is slanted on one side, the one we're looking at, and you walk in, and it's larger on one side and gets smaller towards the back.
Right.
Whereas this one's just more of a
Even-
long,
Yes.
yeah. We just did that because it was more of a newer style, which I guess you're saying
Yeah,
that.
so when you
want to be
walk
older
in the
looking.
gable, you're looking at the gable
Right.
with the doors.
Well, you may not. If it's rectangular like the shape they've shown, it was longer. The gables would be on the ends, I would think. Otherwise,
Right,
you
but
have
they
a
do-
weird oblong-looking gable. with-
Usually, but they do have some, because I've got one in my yard that has the gable going that way.
I don't know, based on the drawing, I saw it.
If we need to come back, or what do we need to do?
If I can get an approval on the gable, we can consider that. And if we decide to change for whatever reason, we'll come back and reapprove and just get one.
Okay.
More in this direction than that direction, right?
Laura, do we need to have do we just need to have an approval with a gable now, or do we need to have them come back with photos?
You can approve it with a gable now, and if they decide that ultimately that's not going to work, then they can come back and present a different idea.
Okay.
But this way, this gives them an approval to go ahead and start looking, and if they find something, get a shed and not have to come back.
Does that work?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I well, does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. All right. Does anybody in the public have any questions? All right, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the shed with the change in the shed roof to a gable roof.
Can I get a second? Okay, I have a motion by Susan, I have a second by Jane. All in favor? Okay, motion unanimously approved and carried. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I hope you enjoy the house. We went inside, and I was really impressed with the quality of his work.
Thank you. Yeah, he does a very good job. We're still trying to, move things around and kind of make it our own, but it'll look good. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all very much. All right, let's see, next on the agenda, let's see, we would have had the violation notice, but that has been moved. So now we have the Historic Resource Survey, Phase 2. Laura, did you want to discuss that with us?
Yes, so ultimately, we received grant money for Phase 2 of the Historic Resource Survey, and the Department of Community Affairs and Historic Preservation Division recommends that anything 40 years old or older be surveyed. That way, your survey is good for 10 years, because, the national marker is 50 years. Well, in Phase 2, we have 900 parcels that meet that age criteria. Unfortunately, we only have grant money for about 450 parcels. So I need this commission to narrow down which streets get surveyed this time around. You'll see on the paper in front of you, I've highlighted several streets as a potential recommendation for streets to be surveyed. And the number on the end would be the number of parcels that's on that particular street.
So if we make a suggestion to add a street to this and that's not approved, can that come back in Phase 2, or it?
So if, essentially, if you'd like to add a street, as long as it's in the Phase 2 area, we'd have to take one of the highlighted streets off because we'd hit the parcel limit. So, but it can be any of the streets that you like. I mean, this is your purview.
But eventually, we can survey them all, but we just don't have the money to do it right now.
Correct.
We're just having to prioritize a few of them to do first, and then later we'll come back and do the others.
Well,
Right.
are these the ones that are most considered historic, they have the most historic sites on them?
So the way that, the yellow highlights are just my personal suggestions, and the way that I structured it was that I wanted to do the main streets in the area, so Church, Madison, Millage, Washington. And then I wanted to do, like you're saying, Faye, a dense neighborhood that has a lot of intact examples. And so that's why I went with Felker Street and Colquitt. And then I also picked East Marable because I think that's a more traditional African-American section of town that maybe has been ignored in previous surveys, and I want to capture those as well.
I agree with everything you've put on. There were two streets that, to me, should be on here, and one is Bold Springs Avenue. It's the one with it's right beside William Street, which is on
Right.
there now. And it has some unique architecture. Unfortunately, the school, well, we still have the library and all there, but that was the main one. The other one was Bryant Road because it's parallel to Glen Iris, and that they were developed at the same time. Basically the same time. It started Glen Iris, and then the same developer moved to that area. But I had a lot more on the list, but those were the two that.
What's the street beside the library, the old library? Is that?
It's Bold Springs
That's
Avenue.
Bow Street, yeah, because it's got that Tudor house on it.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to have that street in there.
It's got more than just
Right,
that Tudor
right,
house.
yeah.
It's got several.
I agree.
What street would you take off?
None.
Well, I mean, but if we don't have the money to keep Bold Springs and another one on there. We have to take something with at least 17
Yeah.
off. And if we're going to keep Bold Springs on, we'd have to trade.
Well, I definitely think that Glen Iris, that needs to be, I mean, not Glen Iris, but, Bold Springs Avenue needs to be on there.
I'm not familiar with Peters Street or Robert Street or Maple Lane. I know Marable Street is one of the, but I don't know Marable Lane or Marable Court. I presume those are just offshoots of the main streets. So
Yes,
I would
it's
say
a-
take off one of the smaller, less traveled or less populated streets, like the Lane or.
Well, they're starting to, do some work on some of those houses in that area around the old library. And we
Yeah.
ought to catch it before they mess it up.
Yeah.
I'd look for a street where you have at least 17 though, because otherwise you know what I mean? You're going to have to take several streets off. What's a street where you have that many?
Like Hill Street and Roosevelt, I don't know, I'd have to go look to see where they are and what they are.
So Hill Street and Roosevelt Street are sort of a neighborhood, and they're fairly intact. We could do what Susan is recommending and take off some of the smaller streets that are very short and don't have a lot of houses. It's not, because otherwise you're gonna, if you take away, you know, like Hill Street or something, you're gonna only do a section of a neighborhood, because you'll do Roosevelt, but then not do the other half of the neighborhood, which could be strange.
I would go for the fewest houses on one of those streets.
Well, Marable Court only has 3. This one was on Young Street.
Yeah.
And Russell Drive has 1.
Well, you could take off Maple Lane and Marable Lane, and then that's 18 right there, and then trade that out for Bold Springs. That's almost even.
Yeah.
Marable Lane and Maple Lane. on Maple Court and Maple Way either. Those are newer houses.
They're not, it's sort of tucked up by 78, just smaller streets, offshoots of the bigger ones.
But that would be 18 right there, and 18 for 17. You want to think about it?
Should we drive around and look, or what do you want to do?
I'm good with whatever y'all decide.
Okay, let's get in your Mustang and put the top down. We'll go riding.
I know all of these will eventually be surveyed. What do you think the time frame is, like, for the next group or batch to be looked at?
So it will take 2 to 3 years to finish the existing survey, and then they recommend you survey again in 10 to 15 years. So it'll probably be that time frame.
So it'll be a while.
It'll be a while, yeah.
But we've been getting a grant every year, like we did a batch last year, we're doing this batch, then we'll do a batch next year and about another batch like the year after that, so we're doing, just till the money runs out.
Okay.
Till they're all done.
And I don't know, in Bryant Road, it has 30 houses. So I'm just trying to add up some of these smaller streets with 9, 1, 7. Some of those I'm just not familiar with. I know Meadowbrook is out Walton Street. It's out a ways.
If we took out Peters and Roberts, Maple Way, and Marable Court, that's another 19 down. And if we added in Bryant Road, that'll probably get us right at 500, which is something that we can submit to the consultant.
Okay,
So if you guys are comfortable with that, we can do that.
That'd be great.
yeah, that's great.
Will you repeat that? The Peters Street, Robert Street,
And then the two at the very bottom, Maple Way and Marable Court.
and then add Bryant Road?
Yeah. And removing those in a block makes a little bit of sense because they're all sort of in the same geographic area. So they can be resurveyed easily.
When you reconfigure that, can you send it out so that Faye can look over it?
I'm sorry, my ear aids are just broken and I'm deaf, as everyone else.
It's okay.
And I'm blind. I don't have my glasses or a pen, so if you send it to me too, I would appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
All right, I have a motion by Shane. Do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a second by Faye. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Unanimously voted and so carried. All right, this concludes the HPC meeting of March 28th, 2023. We are adjourned.